he'll say he had no chill here, and he'll be like, well, I'm not an online person, so I didn't even know who Sneeko was. But, if you're going to post a public video, it is kind of your responsibility to know what you're talking about, and you're going to get called out if you fuck it up. All right, apparently, In Praise of Shadows is back, and I'm meaning to watch this because someone in chat wanted me to. So, for those who don't remember, In Praise of Shadows is a sort of bread tube kind of guy, and he ended up making a video where he basically slandered a bunch of my friends. I think I was the only person that he didn't slander quite enough because he said I was accused of saying the N-word, which is not really true. I've never said that word ever, or have I? But on top of that, he called Brandon Buckingham a gun-obsessed YouTuber. I think he called him alt-right even, alt-right adjacent or something like that. He called Oompaville gun-obsessed crazy person. He called Mudahar transphobic. And the person who got it the worst was Wendigoon, who he said was basically like a domestic white nationalist terrorist who is part of the reason for January 6th happening and also shouldn't be allowed in public. It was one of the most insane videos I've ever seen. So many people covered this when it happened. I covered it. Oompaville covered it. Brandon covered it. She wanted to cover it. Every YouTuber under the Oompaville responded. Every YouTuber under the sun, from the people like me that were named in the video to people who just saw it and thought it was crazy, they all covered it. And apparently he's back now with a video talking about things a little bit. Super glad I'm not eternally online like some of chat. Sorry, I'm winning in life with having a house and a wife. Okay. Well, aren't you cool? You have a house and a wife. You're still in my chat. You're the same. But he came back apparently with a video called Clearing the Air. And I think this has something to do with it.
I don't really know how to start this, so I guess I'm just gonna start talking, I guess. It's been a while. Hope you've been okay. I didn't want to really use a script for this video because anything that I say will be talked negatively about. And if I'd used a written response, I felt like people would be like, oh, he's just, doing this for PR. I didn't want it to feel like...
I actually completely disagree. I think making a written response most of the time is much better than having an off-the-cuff response, because if it's written, you can actually plan out what you say and structure it so there's no wasting time. I mean, would there be like one person who's like, bro was really reading off a script? Yeah, maybe. But I feel like generally, if your response is well thought out, if it's a good apology, if you make good points, if you take responsibility for what you've done, I feel like it being pre-planned or being like unpre-planned and just off the top of the dome, I feel like either way, it's fine. I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but I'm more concerned with the substance of what he says and the aesthetics of how he says it. He said he's responsible for the Boogaloo Boys because of a Hawaiian shirt. He did. I bet he cries about being poor the entire time. I don't know. We'll see. I hope not. He did go outside. I mean, he's in the woods or something. That's good, I guess. Or maybe this is just a really good green screen.
A statement that a politician would put out. I just wanted to be me talking to you, human to human. So apologies if this is a bit rambly. This is a little different for me. I'm just gonna talk. And I guess I'll start with kind of a big piece of criticism was that like I just sort of disappeared. And I did that kind of for two reasons. One was that, of course, like anything that I said wasn't going to help the situation that was happening. And so I just left. And I didn't want to really talk about it, and this is the last time I'm ever going to publicly talk about the situation.
I completely disagree. Do you think that nothing you could have said could have changed how people thought about it? Like Wendigoon, the main guy you were calling out, he gave you a very, very nice response, despite how kind of, I'd say, conspiratorial and insane you acted towards him. He gave a pretty nice response. I feel like if you had just apologized right off the bat and taken down the video right away and like made it clear why you felt bad for it being up, I feel like people would have seen it much differently. Would there be some people who probably would continue on you? Like, yeah. But ultimately, if Wendigoon, the main guy involved, was willing to basically forgive you even at the time, I think that there's a very low chance that like the majority of content creators would disrespect his wishes and continue clowning on you if you had already apologized for what you did, I pay for this dono, but I would bully this dude for free. All right. Look, guys, I get this guy's cringe, but I would like to at least let him say what he wants to say before you just talk about how much you hate him already. Because maybe he will actually turn it around. Here's the thing, okay? I got a lot of for, well, not a lot. I got some for, you guys remember the Super Mega drama? When Nick is Not Green was posting cringe and pushing some false allegations about Super Mega. You guys remember that? I got a little bit of shit because I said I thought his apology was sincere and we shouldn't give him shit anymore. I got a decent amount of shit for that. And I see why, because what he did was crazy. And, it's hard to imagine someone like that after doubling down a few times would be willing to change. But in my opinion, Nick is Not Green probably did actually change. And that's why he hasn't posted a video like that since then. He basically torched his career for that situation. And to an extent, I respect the fact that he didn't double down again and he just walked away from it, People don't always realize they're wrong right away. For most people, to realize that they're wrong, it takes time. It takes months or years even, right? So I think that with basically anyone, right? Unless what they did is like, obviously the worst of the worst. You can come up with where that line is for you, but I think we can name like 5 things at the top of our head that's the worst of the worst. Unless they do that, I am willing to forgive them or at least hear them out and give them some charitability, okay? If he apologizes for what he said, if he realizes he did something wrong, I say let him take the L and move on. Don't hold him against him forever. That's what I say. Despite the craziness of his video where he slandered my friends, right? Let him cook a little bit before you decide whether or not you like what he's making.
Situation again. I just also felt that people would be kind of like annoyed if I like tried to like come back and start making things again and just pretend like nothing ever happened. I didn't want to do that. Also, like, I don't really know how to make this video because the history of like YouTube apology videos is like a format that is consistently made fun of for good reason, and I'm not anti-apology at all. I'm not. It's just that like usually like someone who works on the internet will mess up and then like immediately will put out like an apology video and be like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've changed, guys. And it's complete bullshit. Everybody knows that it's bullshit because you're like, what do you mean you're not that person anymore? You just said that thing 2 days ago. Of course.
I mean, that's true, but the way you phrase it also matters, right? Like part of the reason that I think Asmongold's apology was good was because he wasn't like, that's not me. I've never been that way. That's the old me. Instead, he was like, that is me. This is a direct like the comment I made that was crazy is a direct manifestation of how I act and who I am and who I've become. And therefore I need to change who I am, So it definitely depends on how you phrase it, right? It depends on what you actually have to say.
You're that person. And so like with my situation, I said I was going to be gone for a month. Clearly I needed a break. I wasn't doing very well. And I ended up taking more than that because I wasn't ready to come back. And I really wanted to come back with something that showed what I could do. That showed that I would be willing to listen to criticism of me because I always am. I always want to do better. And so I hope that the John Waters video has kind of shown that. This was kind of a wake-up call moment for me. So, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I guess one of the main things I wanted to talk about here is that, like, when you do anything in a very public way that it isn't received particularly well, people are going to do 2 things, which is, like, ascribe a motive for why you did that thing and also wildly speculate about yourself to put attributes onto you, that often aren't true.
Well, curious what road he's going to go down with this argument. I mean, the thing is, like, when anybody commits a series of actions, right? If they think they're in the right, you probably are not going to get the real answer for why they did something, right? Like, I'm not comparing him to a criminal here, but with, like, criminal intent, when we're analyzing criminal intent, right? We don't generally just say, oh, well, what did the criminal himself say he was doing it for? We generally look at his actions so we can determine why he did something, right? We generally look at what they did, and we use that to ascertain a motive. Because, usually you're not going to get a direct confession of why that person wanted to do what they wanted to do. And I think you can apply that to a lot of other stuff. Is insane speculation not good? No, but there are reasonable assumptions you can make about why In Praise of Shadows did what he did. In the video he made about Wendigoon and all of us, he was complaining about the lack of money he was making and simultaneously was pointing out that Wendigoon makes a lot of money while he was calling him out. So you can kind of ascertain that there might have been some jealousy involved. When he says things like, I don't think Wendigoon should be able to go out in public. When he targets every single friend he's ever had, well, not everyone, but a lot of his friends, and tries to say that they're all insane people, therefore Wendigoon is insane. You can kind of ascertain that he was trying to ruin his career to an extent. Like with the shit he was saying, when he said he shouldn't be able to go out in public, when he said he supports terrorism, you can, with anybody who does actually support terrorism, you would probably not be in favor of that person having a nice life. You'd probably think they deserve to have their career ruined. So, you can kind of ascertain that he wanted, at the very least, Wendigoon's YouTube channel to be shut down or some action against him from the platform, or he wanted everybody to hate him, right? Like that was the motivation of it.
I probably definitely am guilty of doing that in the past, even in the Bad Conservative Horror Movie video. So I kind of wanted to talk more about me here than other people, which is something I don't really do all that much. One of the biggest things that has kind of always surprised me my whole career on YouTube is people thinking that I hate Christians. And I don't at all. I don't hate religious people at all. I myself am a Methodist. And I have gone to annual conference with the Methodists for the past, I think, 4 years because I have an invested interest in how the church is dealing with LGBT members, which is an ongoing thing with the Methodists. I don't hate Christians at all. I can be very critical of Christians. I don't like evangelicals. I don't like proselytizers. And usually, if I'm being critical of religious people, it's because they're using their religion as part of their online brand. And if you're like mixing money or your business with your religion, that is almost certainly like a perversion of whatever your religion is teaching.
I mean, I feel like it depends on how you do it, though, right? Like, is it the main goal of Christianity? No, but one of like the goals of any religion that you're a part of is to spread it to other people, to share it with them, to share why you like it and why you enjoy it. Would it not make sense for, somebody who's a pastor to have a YouTube channel where they preach? Would it not be an okay idea for, Wendigoon, for example, to do his he has like the Bible study streams he did for a while, or to make content talking about the Bible and some of the mythology behind it, to talk about other kind of religious texts that aren't necessarily a part of the Christian canon but are interesting, like Dante's Inferno. Is that really a bad thing? It really depends on how you're doing it. If you're one of these like mega church preachers who is, saying you need way more money, you need everybody to give you more money so you can buy another Porsche, and that's going to help God, that's going to get them into heaven, that's obviously shitty. But if you're just talking about your religion publicly, I think that's fine. And the thing is, I feel like he's framing this very insidiously. I think what he's kind of getting at here, because this is in response to the Wendigoon controversy, what he's kind of getting at here is the idea that Wendigoon is like taking part in some perversion of the Christian faith by talking about it publicly. But I mean, realistically, his Christianity is just part of who he is. He is an actual Christian. So he's going to talk about how he feels. He's going to talk about religion. It's a part of his personality. He'll talk about God. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
I don't want to get into anything. I'm not trying to like double down here with what I'm saying in this. I'm not trying to like critique people. I'm just trying to talk about where I come from with things. Because I'm realizing like a big issue with my writing is saying something and just assuming that people understand what I mean, instead of actually trying to explain my point more, because I cover a lot of points in videos, and sometimes I'm guilty of hitting a point really quick and then moving on.
Is he going to talk about like all the bullshit from the video? Like, is he going to talk about any of the, let's say, like borderline actionable defamation or slander from the video towards like Brandon or Oompaville? Is he going to talk about that at all?
Especially because I kind of am also guilty of making a lot of my work assuming wrongly that people are familiar with my past and my like work as well. I kind of make every video, or did make every video, as a sequel to all of my previous work. And that kind of came up twice with the Bad Conservative Horror Movie video. One was an offhanded mention to Lovecraft that I talked about, where people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, and because I had made like a 2-hour video about Lovecraft in the past, I felt like I could just make an offhanded, like quick one sentence reference to Lovecraft and it not be a big deal, and not explain it. You know what I mean? Because I just assumed people will get what I'm talking about because of that video. And another big one that came with is when I talked about race in Appalachia. A lot of people weirdly thought that I was northern or not from Appalachia. People were saying like, Appalachia sends its regards and shit like that. But like,
I feel like this is not even the biggest concern, though. I feel like the bigger thing is that he said that Appalachia is a very racist area, and most of the white people there that you see, you can assume are racist if you see them, like, ever. I don't know. I think he's being genuine. I also like that he waited to gather his thoughts and then respond. People learn and change. I'm a second chance type of person. I mean, the thing is, I am a second chance type of person as well. I like to think I am anyway, but I feel like part of that is if you're going to respond to something like this, you need to kind of talk about what you fucked up more, and he's more just being like, I don't like that people misinterpreted some of my less aggressive stances, when he's not really talking about like the crazy shit he said in the video. So I don't know. I mean, we're only a few minutes in.
Like, I've lived in the Appalachian Mountains basically my whole life. And I made like a 2+ hour video explaining my complicated views of the American South with the Joanne Denton video, where I talked about how like I love North Carolina and how I've lived here my entire life, and how much of an impact this place has had on me. But also to pretend that the South doesn't have a major problem with racism is like kind of insane, and I talk in that video about.
But is that what anyone said? Did anybody say nobody in the South is racist? Like, in the South, there literally was the Confederacy, 5 generations ago, where there were, black people were slaves. Like, you can talk about racism as a problem. The problem is that you painted a very broad brush, a very, very, very broad brush. I want to see if I can actually find his video, re-upload. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. This clip.
And for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
Like, I feel like he's really couching his opinions here for what he actually said in the video. Like, maybe the argument from like 1 or 2 people in the comment section was like, nobody's been racist ever. All white people are base and have never been racist before. Like, maybe some people said that, but not that many people said that. Like, the real problem is you said any white person you see in Appalachia, you can assume is racist. And we just watched him say that verbatim. Like, this guy's just going outside. He goes to McDonald's. He's like, man, I really want to get McDonald's, but I feel like the guy serving me might be racist. He goes up to the window. It's like a Chinese dude. He's like, oh, thank God. I don't have to assume he's racist. Yeah, exactly. That one octopus. Like, I feel like he's not, I don't know. He's not really clearing the air. There's still a little smoke in this air.
Like the heavy Klan presence in areas of North Carolina. I talk about casual social racism and stuff like that. So like, I felt like I was okay to make a 1-sentence like throwaway thing because I'd already explained my position on that in the past.
That's so, what do you mean? That's so dumb. This is the 1-sentence throwaway. Just play it again.
Area used to be sundown towns. It is about as white as you could possibly get. Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise. Almost all of
You say it's a throwaway comment, but like, imagine if somebody said, yeah, so I went to China, and I basically determined that any Chinese person I see is racist until proven otherwise, and they all hate black people, every single one of them. It's like, is there a common kind of perception that in certain Asian countries they don't really like foreigners? Yes. But does that mean that every single person there is like a hateful? No. Like, there's nothing throwaway about it. You can't just throw away that kind of comment. Obviously, people are going to have a problem with that. Moved to North Carolina from South Alabama. He lives in Asheville, and the first person I saw from Asheville had liberal tatted down their arm, refer to OG Dono. I'm going to get a tattoo that says libtard. That'd be funny. I was thinking of getting a tattoo that says $T$ for T money. That'd be sick. That'd be crazy. Okay? That'd be a different era.
I don't hate Appalachians. I live here. And I have chosen to live here for a long time now. And, you know, the reaction to that in particular, I think, was really strong. And, you know, there was also a lot of criticism saying that, like, I didn't handle the situation gracefully. Which I didn't. But also I'd like to see anybody that would. You know, things got really intense there. My entire town a few weeks ago was basically destroyed.
It's just like, man, he's just playing the victim, man. I'd like to see anyone that would. Well, I mean, the majority of, you know, creators are not in the position you're in, where they take like 7 people who are friends and try to paint them all as like alt-right sociopaths who shouldn't be allowed in public. You know what I mean? I don't really feel bad for you that you got backlash online. If you fuck up, you'll get backlash. It happens to the best of us. I fail to see anyone that would. I mean, yeah, is the average person like ready for a bunch of internet attention and hatred and criticism? No. But I mean, also the average person isn't making a video calling a very popular YouTuber a racist.
From the hurricane. And like there were like tweets still 5 months later saying, well, at least In Praise of Shadows probably died in that. You know, things were really, really hot and uncomfortable. You didn't see the best side of me in that. And that's all that I can say is it was a bad day for me. It was a bad period for me. You know, I was kind of made into this like cartoon character where I am impossible to get along with people who are on the right, which is actually not true at all. I know this sounds like made up, but the guy that I hired to work on the set with me for the John Waters video was wearing a Make America Great Again hat like the entire time we were working. But he does a good job. And that's just the realities of living in the American South. I am not this insane person who like it's impossible to get along with. So yeah. And with the Appalachian thing,
but like, do you not see why people may have thought that you were? Like, if you just watch that video again, I don't even know if you've seen this video. Can you not potentially understand why people thought that you were a crazy person? Especially with, I want to highlight one of the more conspiratorial parts of this video. When Wendigoon followed him on Twitter, he had a like genuinely schizophrenic moment that I think I just have to play it again to show you guys how insane it actually is, because it was another level.
Topic of debate. You can't get mad if people call you unquestionable things that are said or done if you are about this, because using post asking if Wendigoon wants him to start killing people who said that he was right-wing. I think that this is an all-time bad public statement that says absolutely nothing substantial. And that's the point. I quote tweeted this and said, "Not that I have a stake in this whatsoever, but this is such a non-statement that doesn't even address any of the issues that folks are criticizing him for."
Well, I can't imagine someone doing that. I can't imagine somebody making a non-statement that doesn't address any of the issues folks are criticizing him for. I can't imagine someone would do that. I can't imagine anyone who would do that. I can't even think of one. I can't think of one.
Someone using their religion as a shield in the same breath as claiming that they believe in nothing politically is a red flag. "Oh, I'm just a goofy, wholesome boy. Please don't ask me why I follow less than 500 people and one of them was Kyle Rittenhouse. Don't ask me about all the guns that I post pictures of. I promise I have no strong beliefs. Apolitical, really. Why are you slandering me?" I really only care about this because if you have that large of a platform and make your money from being a public persona, then you are no longer fully a private person, and your political beliefs do in fact matter and are a fair topic of debate. You can't get mad if people call you unquestionable things that are said or done if you are making money off of them.
It's just like the pure irony of this contrasting with this. I feel like he's describing himself. No, big shocker. I don't think Wendigoon's politics really matter at all, to be honest. You know, I don't know if this really means anything. Maybe I'm dipping my toes in a little bit too far here with, defending someone that I have personal friendship with, but I've never gotten the impression that Wendigoon is a particularly right-wing person or a conservative person at all. He has never gone on any kind of rant to me about trans people or gay people or ACAB or Black Lives Matter or how everybody needs to vote for Donald Trump. He's never said anything like that to me. He seemingly has really no interest in partisan politics whatsoever. He just makes silly videos online about stuff he finds interesting. So I really don't think his politics matter that much, to be honest. Like, if he was, talking about politics constantly and how he feels about the world and, putting his political beliefs out there, fair enough. But I really don't think that that's what's going on here.
And what resulted from some good faith criticism of his use of language was days upon days of people calling me a amongst other things, but that was their go-to word. And to be honest, if you're a public figure who is being criticized publicly, and the only people who come to your defense are Nazis, then that can only be read as two ways. Either that you're sympathetic to their views, or that you're perfectly fine making money from them, and are...
Okay, so first of all, people calling you an F slur does not make them a Nazi. That's the first response I would give to that. And secondly, like, Wendigoon didn't even publicly acknowledge you. Like, he didn't even respond to you. He didn't even shit on you. So the idea that you would even say these are like his fans is... You realize Wendigoon has like 3.5 million subscribers. I'm just retreading all the points I already made, but yeah, okay. You get the idea. He's got like 4 million subscribers. You can bet on the fact that probably one of those people has probably murdered someone. One of those probably raped someone, because that's what fucking happens when you have a giant public platform. One or two of them are going to be bad eggs. This is insane. Yeah, I bet Jay Schlatt probably has someone in his audience who hates black people. Is that his fault? Is he supposed to like specifically respond to that one guy and give him attention by being like, I don't like this? That just encourages it even more.
Comfortable with that ideology being the backbone of your base. And this did go on for like at least a week, where every single time I said anything, my mentions were just filled with the most vile far-right rhetoric from Wendigoon fans. And if anyone ever criticized me, and people's reaction to it was to immediately start using hate speech, I would shut that shit down so fast. I think that most decent people who work online would do the exact same. And if they don't want to be seen as a big group of Nazis,
think of the dono. Poop is true.
Then let's see how they react to this video's existence, because I am certain they will be very level-headed about all of this. Right in the midst of this going on, a very funny thing happened, and that Wendigoon followed me on Twitter. I was not following him at the time. He never publicly told people to stop calling me a He never once reached out to me privately, but he did follow me, which means in my eyes that he 100% knew what was happening, because I did tweet about it several times, and then followed me to let me know that he knew, and that he was watching, and that he intended to do nothing to stop it.
Like, this is, I think, easily... There's a lot of crazy parts in this video, but this is easily, like, one of the most delusional schizophrenic parts. Like, don't you think a more reasonable explanation would be that he just liked one of your videos, or he liked one of your tweets and wanted to follow you and didn't see those other tweets? Like, don't you think that's, like, possible at all? Do you think that's more reasonable? And this is what happens when you're, like, politically brain rotted. You just assume that everybody that you don't like, for whatever made-up reason you have in your fucking head, is acting in bad faith and is, like, involved in some kind of conspiracy. Like, this, to this guy, Wendigoon is like what Jews are to the Nazis. Like every action they take is specifically to destroy Western civilization, and every action Wendigoon takes is specifically to destroy In Praise of Shadows. He followed me to let me know that he supported people calling me the F-slur. I really just feel like his response here is not really acknowledging how crazy this shit goes. Like, I almost want to watch this whole fucking video again right now. I'm not going to do it to myself, but just to go over all the schizo shit. Because he's really not acknowledging what happened here.
Came an added commentary that I was kind of surprised about, where a lot of people said that I hate poor people or I look down on people, that I like hate lower income individuals, which like I'm a lower income individual in Appalachia. Like I don't hate anybody like that. I don't hate anybody at all. I think that everybody should have their needs met no matter what they believe. You know, as far as like reviews are concerned, I am gay, and with that comes like a certain level of snobbery with like the arts and stuff like that. But because I like have high expectations of works of art does not mean that I hate poor people. Okay, I don't think that certain people should be in power. I don't think that certain people should have social power. And in that, I kind of want to get into the conservative video itself. Okay, so in the like hating poor people thing, apparently I also don't like normal guys. And like the thing that's kind of funny about that is that like kind of this whole situation came about because I was a normal guy. So like I'm notoriously difficult to get a hold of.
What do you mean it came about because you're a normal guy? How does it even make sense? A normal guy would not make like a 3-hour long schizophrenic video where the last 40 minutes of it are dedicated to calling a bunch of people who are apolitical Nazis. What do you mean you're a normal guy? You're a socialist YouTuber. You're by definition not a normal guy. You're a unique, different kind of guy. What? Guys, I'm normal. I swear, I'm normal. It's so hard to DM me. I'm a normal guy.
And that's because I'm not really online at all. I don't tweet. I genuinely don't spend much time on Twitter at all.
Maybe you should. Maybe your video would have been better researched. Maybe you spent more time online. Honestly, I think maybe you should get more terminally online because, I mean, whatever you were doing during the production of that video was really not helping.
I don't have any other social media. Before this, I was getting on Discord like once every like 6 months. For the most part, I'm not friends with other online content creators. I probably watch in between 3 and 5 YouTube videos a month. And that is not like a dig at other YouTubers. That's not saying that they don't make excellent work because there's a lot of great work on YouTube. But like, it comes to like this thing where like, back when I used to make comics, I would draw comics all day. And the last thing I'd want to do when I finished drawing for 10 hours would be to like pick up comics and read them before I went to bed. You know, like I didn't want my entire existence to be comics. I wanted inspiration from everywhere in my life. And so I used to watch a lot of YouTube, like back before I was a YouTuber. But then I started making videos and, you know, I make videos all day long and I don't want to like turn around and then like watch more YouTube videos. So like when I say I don't watch like a lot of YouTube, it's not to put down other creators, but just to try and to explain how this situation happened because the why is kind of, you know, self-apparent. And so
is it self-apparent? Mental illness? He didn't really explain that. Is that what he's implying here? I can't really tell. I feel like, I don't know. I'm going to give him a chance to speak. We're halfway through this video, and I don't know. I went into this expecting something a little bit better. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like he didn't really do a good job of going over the insanity that was the Wendigoon segment from this video. Does he not realize that, like, the pylon was for a reason? There's a very good reason for why people had an issue with what he said. And it's because he acted schizophrenic. He came after a lot of people with large public platforms and active fan bases. He slandered them and called them all like right-wing conservatards who are like MAGA, but also alt-right, but also like that Wendigoon's responsible for January 6th. Like it was like extremely conspiratorial. Maybe he's not the best example, but even like a liberal like Destiny watched the video and was like, this is what is wrong with you. Keep in mind, he loves shitting on right-wingers. We know that. And even he watched this and he was like, this is like, what is wrong with you? You have something severely wrong with your head. I don't know. I feel like he's not really doing a good job explaining himself here and explaining everything he did wrong. I'm not asking for like a point-by-point breakdown of everything he said in this video. I don't need like a 3-hour response, but at least something where he acknowledges like what he did wrong specifically, rather than just like trying to justify how he's actually not insane and normal. He's actually a cool dude.
When you're not an online person, but you feel compelled to write a piece about online culture, looking at it from a distance, trying to figure out what is real, it's a different kind of research. and I totally was not the guy to do that job. I felt like it was important. I felt like nobody else would do it, and I knew that the reaction was not going to be good. I knew it was going to be bad. So, kind of most of my mistakes and problems came from that, though, because like I didn't know who Sneeko was before I made that video. And I didn't really know who he was when I posted that video. And so while it's like really serious, and I admit that, and I am sorry, I took the video down like immediately because I realized the video had major problems. But like, it also at the same time, in retrospect, is a little bit funny that I tried to be like, this guy's the fucking worst. At least, you know, according to Hitler. And like, you know, I fucked it. I fucked it pretty bad. And there's not
This is good. He's acknowledging a little more now.
really a lot else I can say about it. You know, what's done is done. I can't take it back. But also, ultimately, that's like what a whole section of YouTube is about. I may have done that really badly, but like, there are channels that just exist just to talk shit about people like all the time. And I don't want to be that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy. I am not trying to escalate the situation. I'm just trying to describe my perspective of how this happened. Because at the end of the day, everything's fine. You know, I fucked up. But also, nobody that I mentioned in that video was harmed at all. You know, everybody's doing fine, and
I mean, I don't think that's exactly true. Like, they easily could have been, if people just didn't respond, they easily could have been very heavily affected by the straight up slander you posted about them. And on top of that, like, even since his video, I've seen people on Twitter with a few thousand likes at the very least saying things to the effect of like, everybody jumped down this guy's throat when he was based the whole time and he called out Wendigoon for being the racist he is. Oh, by the way, he's friends with Tom. Oh, by the way, Brandon Buckingham is a racist who does provocative content about the hood and exploits them. Like, the idea that these things exist in a vacuum, and it's like, well, I did something bad, but ultimately no one was really hurt because I didn't succeed, is like, that's such a bad argument. Guys, I tried to hit someone with my car. Ultimately, I didn't succeed. Someone stopped me before I could. So, you know, no harm, no foul. Just going to move on. It's like, well, you still try to do that, right? Like, that's why we have charges in the justice system for attempted murder. Do we charge them the same as somebody who succeeds? Not usually, but we still punish them. Like, just because your attempt at, you know, slandering somebody as a racist Nazi terrorist wasn't successful doesn't mean you didn't try to do that.
that's kind of like how that genre of YouTube works anyways. The whole drama machine ultimately just exists for money. And I shouldn't have been a part of that. I shouldn't have contributed to that.
Oh, here we go. It just exists for money. Well, what are you? Are you some selfless guy making videos out of the kindness of your own heart? Is that why you make videos? Are you on YouTube publicly posting videos to make like no money? If that is the case, I guess you succeeded in that, which is why you were complaining about being broke the whole time. Like, undoubtedly, am I going to deny the fact that I make videos with the intent of like making money off of it? Yeah, obviously. Like, it's my job. I make money the more views my videos get. The better my videos do, the more money I make. But the thing is, like, I think that's fine. I think it's fine to make money off of what you do if you do it well. And I'm fine with him making money off what he does if he does it well or if he does it poorly. Like, I don't really have a lot of investment in it. The problem I have is that one particular video, which, you know, he was trying to make money and get publicity off of slandering people. And this is ultimately, like, it's so cringe. It's like now he's going with the argument of like, oh, the drama channels are just here to make money. They don't actually care. And it's like, I mean, it's good to have a relative indifference to online stuff so you're not too emotionally invested, but we can clearly call a spade and call something bad when it's bad. Do you think that the only reason people called you out is because they could make money off of it, not because they thought you were wrong? Do you think that's the only, like, that's the sole reason people had a problem with what you said?
Yeah, felt like there were important points to make. I did not word them well. I had no fucking chill. I could have done pretty much everything in that
Did not word them well is an understatement.
better, but you live and learn. You know, I don't know what else to say. Other than I will do better, and I kind of want to get into like personal criticisms against myself now. Because I think that's a good segue. So like, with that video, there was a lot of comparison to the Dan Olson video that came out soon after mine and the H Bomber Guy plagiarism video. There was a lot of like comparing the three of us, and I think like the only commonality between those three videos is YouTubers talking about YouTubers, with two of them being good videos and one of them being like a really bad video.
I think the other comparison is just like socialist dude who makes a video analyzing content creators. That's also a part of it. Like socialist guy, breadtube leftist guy makes a very long video analyzing content creators, talking about them. I haven't seen the Dan Olson video. I've heard mixed reactions to it. The H Bomber guy video, I did actually get around to watching the majority of it recently, and it's not a bad video. You know, I can't deny it. It's not a bad video. It's totally fine.
But people were ascribing, like, saying that I was jealous, and that's why I was making that video. And
I can't imagine why anyone said that. I cannot imagine why anyone said that.
I have no need or desire to hear 5 hours of opinions on Blood Meridian from a 21-year-old millionaire who got famous around the age of 19. And I know that
I can't imagine why anybody would think that like he's jealous here, or you know, it's impossible for me to understand why anybody would interpret that way. You know, like it's not even that he just mentioned the money; it's that he mentioned it in such a conceited, smarmy way. Like, I have no desire to hear this 21-year-old millionaire talk about how he feels about certain things. How old is Wendigoon? He got the age wrong too. Wendigoon's channel blew up when he was 21 or 22. So yeah, I mean the research was just, it was bad on every front, which, you know, he'll say he had no chill here and he'll be like, well, I'm not an online person, so I didn't even know who Sneeko was. But you know, if you're going to post a public video, it is kind of your responsibility to know what you're talking about, and you're going to get called out if you fuck it up.
I just want to say I am not a jealous man, and I never have been. I have never made a single video on YouTube to chase trends. I have never made a video because someone made a popular video like that. You know, that is not the kind of guy that I am. And I never will be. I've always made what I think is interesting, what I am compelled to do, what I think is right to do. You know, I can definitely work on my tone with critical pieces, but like, I wasn't doing that video as a ripoff of somebody else's style. You know, for better or worse, that video was authentically me. And
I think the reason people said that is because the video about the plagiarist people had just come out, and it was from, once again, H Bomber guy, who's like a guy who makes very long-winded videos that are, I'm not saying long-winded is an insult, they're just long videos. He makes very long-winded videos about, you know, certain people. He called a lot of creators in it. He speaks from a socialist perspective. And I think a lot of people made the comparison because they saw this guy also making a very long video, also talking about right-wingers, which obviously Internet Historian was interpreted to be a right-wing guy by H Bomber guy. He essentially went with the narrative that like Internet Historian is a chud, which is also a bad reason to watch his videos. And so people kind of drew comparisons there.
to prove that, you can go back and watch the video on Encyclopocalypse that I did the previous summer that has like the exact same tone and wording and style and presentation of that bad conservative horror movie video. You know, they're very, very similar. I feel like as far as critically, this was very me. If it came across as being a ripoff of somebody else, that was not the goal. You know, I feel like that came across to some people and not to some people, but that's all I have to say on that. But similarly to the Encyclopocalypse video, I wasn't trying to ruin anybody's life. I wasn't doing this because I wanted a lot of views. In fact, I did know that people were going to hate this. You can go back on my Twitter.
It's so like the selfless martyr thing. It's like, well, do you do it solely because of views? No, but you post on a public platform. Obviously, you wanted to get attention, right? You obviously knew that posting a video like that would get attention on it if it's about a creator that hasn't really been called out for anything successfully. You know, as like the first guy to kind of break the water there, you're gonna get some level of attention for being the first guy. And he keeps saying, I knew it wasn't gonna be positively received, and it's like, but it could have been much more positively received if it was a more well thought out, less black and white, more nuanced conversation. Maybe speculating on Wendigoon's politics. Like, do I think that's dumb to do? Yeah, but like it could have been much more charitable. Like, you could have been more asking questions rather than just asserting that he is a racist Nazi, you know?
And like weeks before I posted it, I said, my next project people are really going to hate. If I said that people are really going to hate this, then that doesn't line up with the narrative of me doing it because I wanted to be popular. You know, with the jealousy thing, like it feels very strange to me because to my ears, it's like critiquing the president and saying something that you don't like that the president did. And then somebody saying, well, you're just saying that because you want to be president. And like, no, I assure you, I don't want to be the president.
But like, you came across as extremely jealous because you were, in the beginning of the video, he was talking about how broke he was and how he couldn't make ends meet from his content. And then later in it, he's like, why would I ever want to hear about media literacy in media from the perspective of a 21-year-old millionaire who was 19 when he got famous, which isn't even true. Like, I feel like he's really ignoring the reason why people said that. Maybe he just didn't even watch people's responses, or maybe he just doesn't even remember what he fucking said.
critical pieces can exist on people without them like destroying people.
I already talked about Leafy. You just weren't watching.
And I actually say that in the Bad Conservative Horror Movie video. I said with the John Squire section of that video that I don't want to ruin people's lives because of things that they've said, that I think that we should be forgiving and open to people changing. And if it was just some like dumb thing said like as an 18-year-old, who gives a shit? Everybody said really dumb things when they were a kid, and that shouldn't be held against them. I just saw things that I disagreed with from people that I felt like had a big public platform. Being critical of that doesn't mean that you want their lives to be ruined. You know, I ultimately...
Dude. Being critical of that doesn't mean I want their lives to be ruined.
Which the answer to that is yes. But the reason that I care is because this does not belong in horror, or anywhere. I care deeply about horror, and everything that he does has demonstrated so far in his career that he should not be welcomed in our spaces, or even, you know, just in public in general.
I wasn't trying to ruin his career 1 second earlier. He shouldn't be allowed in public. He shouldn't be allowed in the horror space. He shouldn't be allowed to talk about what he wants to on his YouTube channel. Like, come on, bro. You got to at least acknowledge why people think that you said something that you said, right? Like, you got to at least give them a little bit of leeway there, a little bit of credit. Like, it took me 1 second to find that clip. It took me 1 second.
As an invitation for wanting people to do better. And if the one person who comes out of Bad Conservative Horror Movie deciding to do better is me, then that's a good thing. You know, one of the major criticisms of me that came up a lot in that time period was related to citing sources, which I fully upfront admit I can be a lot better at. And starting from now...
The problem isn't just citing sources. It's that you were wrong. It's that you were 1,000% wrong. You got information wrong about people that you talked about. You said that they do things that they don't do. Like, look at this.
Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of...
Like, he called him a gun YouTuber. That's not even true. The problem isn't citing sources. It's that you're fucking wrong. It's that you had no source. It's literally the meme of, like, what's your source? I made it the fuck up. And also just, like, you know, it is weird to just show this... I don't want to pearl clutch too much, but it is weird to show this tweet of like Brandon and his grandpa, like, and him being like, here's Papa, you know, he's home from the hospital, he's recovering. Just show that when you, like, to show a picture of his grandfather recovering after being in the hospital while you simultaneously like slander him as a gun tuber, which he isn't. I think Brandon has done like maybe one video where he even had guns involved. I guess there are videos he's done with gangs where they have guns, but like there's one video that's like a gun tuber video. Man, it's just so disingenuous. How self-aware is he?
I will be. The John Waters video, if you go and look at it, has a full works cited in the description. Historically, I do like try and show where I get my information from, but I always tried to do it in a visual way. Historically, you know, I would say like, according to Variety, and then I'd throw up a screenshot of the Variety article, you know, and post that so everybody could see the title and where I got it from, but being done in kind of a fun visual way. Clearly, people don't really like that, so I can do a full traditional like works cited where I list it.
That's not even close to the problem. The problem was not that you didn't link things in the description. That did like anybody who had a problem with this video say that was like of any note? Was this like something one commenter said? I feel like he's responding to the most softball criticisms ever while just not even acknowledging like the crazier parts of his video.
Everything from now on. You know, my entire career, I have tried to approach everything with compassion and understanding and love.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Compassion, understanding, and love. That's what that video was. Compassion, understanding, and love. Holy shit.
And you don't have to believe that, but I hope that my track record shows that.
Does it? Does it really, though?
Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of threatening... He is friends with Oompaville.
Like, how compassionate is it to run with a narrative that Sneeko has propagated, which is false about Brandon, which is the claim that Brandon said he would rape his girlfriend? Like, this is just so... What compassion is there? How compassionate can you be for the people you talk about when you're just pulling shit out of your ass about them and just, like, reading some subreddit post that summarizes things and putting it in your video? How much compassion can there really be? Like, compassion and empathy are about trying to understand the people that you're criticizing or talking about. How compassionate can you be when you lie about a bunch of people and then you say that the main guy you're criticizing shouldn't be allowed in public? How is that compassionate? How? This is like unbelievable. Oh my God. 90s serial killer aesthetics. This guy cannot hurt a fly.
you saw me on a really bad day. And I have tried for the past 5 months
So you had a bad day.
to
I was in a dark place.
really reckon with that and actually confront that. You know, I didn't want to put out like an apology video 2 days afterwards because nobody learns things in 2 days. That's just reacting. It's not listening to what people say and acting. And there's a big difference there. And like everyone, I'm a work in progress. You know, I want to be the best me that I can be. And I'm not saying that to protect my money. I'm not saying that to protect my reputation. I'm saying that because it's true. And if I wanted to protect my money, you know, or my reputation, I would have done this on like the main channel. You're only watching this if you sought this out, you know? So it is what it is. People can think what they want of me. I will continue to do better. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm sorry for everything.
I'm sorry for everything. I don't think you are. Man, my recommendation to this dude would be to just never talk about this ever again. And he said he would in this video. I think you should just shut the fuck up and just make fucking, I don't know, videos about John Waters or whatever. I think he should never speak about any YouTuber ever again. He's just fucked up too bad. He doesn't even acknowledge how bad it was, really. Like, he easily sidesteps the most important criticisms of his video and his biggest fuck-ups. You know, he summarizes that with, it was a bad video. And then he's like, well, I act with compassion, and I never wanted to ruin anyone's life, which is just like a direct lie.
Genuinely, where I fucked up for not having any chill, for just being a kind of an asshole. So I guess that's where I'm going to leave this. I'm going to be doing more videos on here. I'm going to try and do like near weekly videos on here. I think that's kind of fun. I'm going to try and do, they won't be unscripted like this. They will be scripted, but they will be shorter form. Like I'm aiming for like,
Please script everything you do going forward. Please never talk off the cuff ever again. Never do a live stream. It will be a disaster.
like 10 to 20 minute videos on like obscure, weirder movies. A lot of them not really good movies, but interesting in their badness or amateurness, you know?
I don't give a fuck what he's doing on his main channel. I don't know, bro. I mean, was it as bad as it could have been? No, but it wasn't great either. I think that this is a pretty bad response. I think that he didn't really acknowledge what he did wrong. I think that he totally fell into that cringe YouTuber apology trap that he was shitting on other YouTubers for doing before. I don't think he showed that much personal growth. And I think if he ever makes a drama video again, it'll probably be just as bad as that first attempt, that first swing. Jesus, that sucked. Now, have you to defend previously, Tom? Well, I mean, I didn't defend him. I was just saying, like, you know, let's wait and see what he has to say. Because I want to believe that people can change, you know, I really do. I've fucked up throughout my life and I've changed. So I don't know. I want to believe that people can actually change who they are as people and not make the same mistakes again, you know? Like, I think ultimately the true test of how sorry someone is or how much they've learned is not going to be their apology statement. It's going to be how they behave. But ultimately, this is not super confidence inspiring, honestly. If this guy ever gets on Twitter again, it's going to be a fucking disaster. Damn. That was no bueno. Not good at all, my friend.